Welcome to Resting Places, Learning Spaces podcast, where we explore cemeteries, memorial spaces, and the cultural traditions that shape how we remember the past. I'm Dr. Hilary Van Dyke, and I'm thrilled to have you join me for this journey through history, memory, and education. All right, so I'm working on a book that is about the ways that educators can use cemeteries in the South as places of learning. And I ran across this article from April 20th, 2000 from the Atlanta Journal. And in the article, they are interviewing this lady who does like cemetery tours and cleanups and things that works for a particular cemetery in Atlanta. But there's a quote from the article that I just love where they say there are two kinds of people in Mary Alice Alexander's world: those who are cemetery people and those who aren't. So I'm definitely a cemetery person, and this podcast is definitely for cemetery people, but I do want to be clear, it's not just for cemetery people, but really for all of you, and hopefully I can convert you to become a cemetery person in the course of this work. In each episode, we're going to dive into a specific cemetery, memorial site, or cultural tradition surrounding remembrance. We'll uncover fascinating histories behind the spaces, hear from experts in the field, hear from experts who just have lived experience in the topic, and discuss ways educators can bring these themes into the classroom. But it's not just about tombstones and monuments, it's about the stories that these things hold. Cemeteries are archives of human experience and they reflect our values. They reflect the struggles and changing perspectives on life and death that humans have held. So, whether you're an educator, historian, or just someone who loves exploring hidden histories, I think this podcast will give you new insights into how we commemorate the past. So, let's begin this journey together. In this first episode, I'm just introducing you to what you can expect from this series. So, I believe that cemeteries are more than just final resting places. They tell stories of migration, conflict, cultural change, and even political struggles. We've got anywhere from like grand military cemeteries that honor fallen soldiers to like neglected burial grounds, sometimes that are like hidden underneath parking garages or parking lots. And those type of cemeteries speak to histories of oppression. But no matter what type of cemetery you're talking about, each site has a unique narrative. And I think it's really interesting that even pre-colonization on this land in the United States, this idea of caretaking of the dead was something that Native American tribes considered sacred. And even now in modern times, you can really see a lot of Native American descendants trying to have the remains of their ancestors repatriated to their tribes, because again, it's still this very important thing about how we treat those who've passed before us. And I think, the cemetery that we know now in the U.S. is a relatively new phenomenon. Before the 1830s, they were mostly in church burial grounds, and they had reputations of being disease carriers. And then as the U.S. grew, cemeteries changed, of course, and became these larger places that were like green spaces. In fact, the design of cemeteries has shifted dramatically over time. In the 19th century, it was very popular for cemeteries to be like big garden cemeteries that were public parks, like Oakland Cemetery in Atlanta. And so visitors would come not just to visit their people that have passed on, but to reflect, enjoy nature, see their neighbors. And then in contrast, many 20th century cemeteries, they're more uniform and utilitarian, and really not really seen as a place to just go and, walk, but more the place to go mourn and bury your loved ones and maybe kind of like not think about them till you go see them, which hopefully isn't true for everyone. But anyway, these shifts, I think, just reflect evolving attitudes toward death, mourning, and public space. But, we'll explore more than just cemeteries on this podcast. We'll really think about this idea of burial and remembrance, and look at these customs from different cultures as well. And I think understanding these customs can help us see that at the end of the day, this idea of what to do with our loved ones or what to do with spirits when they've passed on, it's a really universal wondering, but it's incredible how everyone, wonders what to do about it. But there's these very many different ways that humans confront mortality. Whenever it makes sense, I also have like another person serve as an expert. I just think that'll help bring some color to the conversation. I hope to have conversations with historians, anthropologists, educators, local experts, just to bring some more understanding to the topics I talk about. I want to discuss the meaning, evolution, and relevance of the cemetery/memorial space that this show will be focusing on. And I just want to ask them about their personal experiences and insights. And I think another thing that's interesting is around the same time that cemeteries became these big green spaces in the US, and around the same time that cemeteries became so integral to how we honor the dead, social studies as a discipline started to come into existence in England and then quickly came to the US. The Committee on Social Studies Education first brought the idea of social studies onto the national stage in 1916 with its recommendations. And, over time, what's taught in classes, what's featured in textbooks, all of that has changed. But social studies itself has really evolved into a discipline that integrates the study of social sciences and humanities, but then also is promoting civic competence. And ultimately, the National Council of Social Studies tells us that the point of social studies is to develop the ability to make informed and reasoned decisions for the public good as citizens of a culturally diverse democratic society in an interdependent world. And I mean, if the point of social studies is really this idea of like civic competence and civic virtue, then I really think cemeteries are a good place to bring social studies, because then we can really help students actually care about what happens to these places, because we're building some civic virtues in them by having them explore and understand them. And I mean, I'm all about place-based education, so what better place than a cemetery to just learn everything you possibly can about a place. There's a quote from an article that I use a lot where they say cemeteries are open-air museums, and I just really think that teachers have a lot of possibilities if they consider a cemetery as that open-air museum that they can take their students to. One thing that is an issue is that a lot of times people think cemeteries are creepy. And so that, of course, is something that we'll always contend with, but hopefully I can help maybe break down some of that like narrative. But yeah, as a part of this podcast, we'll definitely be also just discussing how educators can use these topics in social studies, in history, and how they can use place-based education to teach students. And thinking about that, I'll think about lesson plan ideas, discussion prompts, or project suggestions, and share potential challenges that I see coming up, but then maybe thinking through some solutions for how to bring that material into the classroom. As we wrap up this introductory episode, I hope you're as excited as I am about this journey into the world of cemeteries, memorials, and cultural traditions. I've really only scratched the surface here just in what I think this is going to be about. There's just so much to uncover in this, so I'm just very excited. In upcoming episodes, we'll explore places or traditions. Some of them I come across in my travels. Some of them I'll just come across locally here in the Tampa Bay area. And when it makes sense, we'll hear from others, because I'm definitely not the expert and I want to talk to other nerds that have things to say about it. So hopefully hearing from historians, anthropologists, educators, and other humans who are bringing these stories to life. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with fellow educators, with fellow travelers, or just anyone you think who's interested in the intersection of history and place. You can follow me on Instagram at Professor Van Dyke to continue the conversation, or recommend a topic. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember, every resting place has a story to tell.